Number 9, I said that we didn't have to argue with that.
Okay, so 4 is withdrawn. The six, I think you said yesterday that was.
It's a rejection, so yes. What about 14? What about 14?
No 4, no 6, no 9. Right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm sorry. 1, 4, 6, 9,
14.
14. Okay. Oh, I have that as a blank. Okay.
So it's a 2-2, right? Is it a 2?
No, it's on consent. Oh, it's a Wendy's.
I know. I have questions about the traffic there.
Okay.
Mary. Oh, that is, it's right there. Well, you know that.
Yeah.
So
No, it's 8:58.
first, they
That clock is fast. It's 8:58.
building right behind. It's a small. But if you notice, because I go through there all the time. So the neighborhood road is here. That entrance to the Kroger's, right there, delivery trucks. School buses go through there, right here, they're gonna put this right here. I've already seen 2 accidents. When people come out of here, there's trees. So one person was going this way, one person was going this way. It was so close. So I'm like, then we're gonna put this here.
Still one more minute.
Did you see what the guy wrote?
That clock is wrong.
There was a neighbor, and he said, "I'm not opposed to it, but I think there's
Yes, you're right. But right there, it's 2 lanes. There's a center that's only turning one way. It's just too goofy. And then this morning,
She said
there was
so then I actually drove it last night. I'm like,
She said they discussed it and it's not 1 and 2. We'll hear what she says. Consent.
and the center turning lane. So we decided that that's not the turning lane. That's my right.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the March 10th meeting of the Memphis and Shelby County Land Use Control Board. My name is Mary W. Sharp, and I will be serving as your chairperson today. We will begin this morning's meeting with a roll call. Mr. Ragsdale, would you proceed, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Fleming?
Here.
Mr. Gill?
Here.
Mr. McKinnon?
Here.
Ms. O'Connell?
Here.
Dr. Frazier?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Mr. Toles?
Here.
Ms. Wilbanks?
Here.
And Chair Sharp.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I would like to remind you that copies of today's agenda are located at the front right podium if you need them. If you wish to be a speaker on any case that is on today's agenda, please fill out an attendance speaker's card located at the front podium. Once you have filled out one card, please bring it up front and hand it to one of our DPD staff members located at the left podium. When that agenda item is called, you will be given an opportunity to speak. At this point, I would like to read our conflict of interest statement. The adopted policy of the Land Use Control Board requires that any member of the board recuse himself or herself from any participation in the discussion or voting on any matter of the meeting's agenda in which he or she may have direct or indirect personal interest. The member shall vacate his or her seat during deliberation on any matter from which they have recused themselves. An abstention may substitute for a recusal for the purposes of maintaining a quorum. I would like to now get approval of our minutes from the last meeting. May I please have a motion?
So moved, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. I understand there are no director's reports. Is there a director's report? Mr.
No,
Zena?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Ragsdale, may I get a secretary's report for this month and an explanation of today's procedure?
Yes, Madam Chair. We'll just note on the agenda, the Secretary's report, item number 1, is notifying that the application for a street dedication has been changed, and it will be heard at the TRC meeting which is noted on the agenda. And that's the Secretary's report, and I will now read the procedures for the meeting. At the beginning of today's meeting, we will establish a consent agenda for those items where no one in the audience or on the board is requesting an individual public hearing. After the consent agenda is established and approved, we will move on to the regular agenda. For each case on the regular agenda, the DPD planner will give a presentation. This will be followed by the applicant's presentation and any testimony from others who support the application. The applicant and supporters will be given a total of 10 minutes. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Next, the opposition will be given a total of 10 minutes to present their case. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Finally, the applicant will then have a 3-minute rebuttal period under the same rules. Following all presentations and after all parties have been heard, the chair will ask if the board members have any additional questions of anyone who spoke. Then the chair will close the public hearing portion of the case, entertain a motion on the matter, discuss, and then vote on the application. If the applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing portion of the case, or if a board member wishes to hear any additional testimony from any party for additional clarification, a motion will need to be made along with a second, and then a 2/3 affirmative vote of the board is required to reopen the public hearing portion of the agenda item. If the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and the opposition will be allowed an equal amount of time to provide additional testimony. After the additional comments, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case and deliberate and take a final vote. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a case, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card. These are available at the front podium. Speaker's cards are not required of applicants since their names are already part of the record. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. The board is a supporter of community involvement, and we welcome neighborhood comments and feedback. We are respectful of the fact that many of you have taken off work or adjusted your schedules to be here today, but we ask that your comments be made within the time frame allowed. If there are multiple speakers, please try not to be repetitive so as to make the most of your side's 10-minute time allotment. Lastly, I'd like to ask you all to silence your cell phones so as not to interrupt or disturb anyone during today's proceedings. Now we will move to the consent agenda. With our procedures now explained, I would like to introduce to my right Ms. Lisa Wilbanks, who will be this morning's consent agenda chairperson. Ms. Wilbanks will read items 1 through 21 as the consent agenda. Once the consent agenda is read, if you wish to discuss one of the items individually, please come forward and give us the item number and we will pull that case. We will then vote on the remaining consent agenda items as one vote, and following the vote, we will hear the cases that were pulled individually. Ms. Wilbanks, would you proceed, please?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 3, case S22-04 in Whitehaven. The request is a 42-lot single-family residential subdivision at the parcel partially enclosed by Mickey, Patty Ann, and Timothy Drive. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 5, case SUP 22-02 in Whitehaven. The request is a special use permit for an auto body repair shop at 5219 Mill Branch. Staff recommendation is approval with one condition. Item number 7, resolution of the Land Use Control Board adopting certain amendments to the Memphis 3.0 Comprehensive Plan. Staff recommendation is approval. Item number 8, resolution of the Land Use Control Board recommending that the Memphis City Council adopt certain amendments to the Memphis 3.0 Comprehensive Plan. Staff recommendation is approval. Item number 10, case MJR 22-06 in Cordova. The request is a site plan review of a drive-through restaurant at the southeast corner of Houston Levy Road and Macon Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 11, case MJR 22-07 in Cordova. The request is a major modification to add additional parking for an existing sports facility at 237 Woodland Lake Drive. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 12, case MJR 22-08 in Ridgeway. The request is signage modifications to the Crescent Center PD at 6075 Poplar Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 13, case MJR 22-10 in East Memphis. The request is for a Reddick Street closure time extension at 5434 Poplar Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 15, case PD 22-01 in Frazier. The request is the extension of a manufactured home park at 3903 Flaxwood Lane and 2 adjacent parcels. Staff recommendation is hold. Item number 16, case PD 22-02 in Arlington adjacent. The request is an amendment to add a parcel to the Brown Plan Development for a landscape materials business at 10957 US Highway 64. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 17, case PD 22-03 in Rosemark. The request is a planned development for a general store with entertainment pavilion at 9053 Barrett Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 18, case S22-05 in Frazier. The request is a 10-lot residential subdivision at 2717 Mountain Terrace Street. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 19, case S22-06 in Castalia Heights. The request is a 2-lot residential re-subdivision at 1437 Castalia Street. Staff recommendation is approval with 1 condition. Item number 22, case Z22-01 in Southeast Shelby County. The request is the rezoning of a parcel on Mineral Wells Road adjacent to the state line from CA to EMP at 5637 Mineral Wells Road. Staff recommendation is approval. And that's our consent agenda.
The items on the consent agenda will now be voted on with 1 vote, subject to the recommendation of DPD. If the consent agenda is approved, only items number 1, 2, 6, 9, and 14 will have full independent public hearings. By voting on the consent agenda, each board member is affirming that he or she has read the staff report and agrees with its finding and, where applicable, its recommended conditions. Can I get a motion, please?
Yes, ma'am. Move to approve item number 3, case S22-04. Item number 5, case SUP 22-02. Item number 7. Item number 8. Item number 10, case MJR 22-06. Item number 11, case MJR 22-07.
Excuse me, Ms. Wilbanks, we just got cards on item number 15.
Okay.
So we will need to pull that from the consent agenda.
All right.
And I would like to discuss item number 10.
Okay.
Okay, so item number 10 will be pulled and item number 15.
Okay. Item number 11, case MJR 22-07. Item number 12, case MJR 22-08. Item number 13, case MJR 22-10. Item number 16, case PD 22-02. Item number 17, case PD 22-03. Item number 18, case S22-05. Item number 19, case S22-06. And item number 22, case Z22-01.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved, and I do hear a second. Is there any discussion amongst our board members? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll go to Dr. Pritchard for our regular agenda. Dr. Pritchard will call those items number 1, 2, 6, 9, 10, 14, and 15.
Agenda item number 1, MJR 22-03CO, Southeast Shelby County. This is correspondence to PD 07-342CC, site plan review for 100 single-family residential lots at the northeast corner of Shelby Drive and Irene Woods Lane. Staff recommendation is approval.
Okay, is the applicant present? Could you step up to the podium, give us your name and your...
SR Consulting, 5909 Shelby Oaks Drive, Suite 200.
Okay, thank you. Is there any opposition?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you give us your name and address, and then we'll hear from the staff?
Mary.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Brenda Solomito Baser, Solomito Land Planning, 1779 Kirby Parkway, here representing the Irene Neighborhood Association.
Okay, thank you. We're ready to hear from the staff.
Hi, good morning. Seth Thomas, Memphis, Shelby County Office of Planning and Development. Case before us is MJR 2203, which is part of larger PD 07342CO. So this property is located at the southeast corner of East Parkway North and Shelby Lane. The applicant is Forest Creek Partners, LLC. The request is a site plan review for a 100-unit townhome development in Area 1 of the Forest Creek PD on a 10-acre lot. So the location here, just south of Bill Morris Parkway in the unincorporated part of Shelby County. Here's an aerial of the site. And then here's a couple site photos. The lot is currently vacant and has not been cleared. And this Irene Woods Lane is closed at the northernmost section where it enters into the rest of the PD. So along with this development, this road would be opened up. This is the outline plan that the property is located under. As you can see, relatively large PD scales, even north of Bill Morris Parkway North. It's one of the larger PDs that we have in the unincorporated parts of Shelby County. And this is the site plan. So the applicant is proposing a townhome type development with rear garages that are served by alleyways and two particular curb cuts into Irene Woods Lane. These, as they're gated, these will be private drives and maintained through an HOA that will be established along with the recording of the final plat if this project is approved. And here are some elevation examples that were shared by the applicant of what the townhomes will look like. And so in conclusion, the applicant's requesting site plan approval as required by outline plan conditions. This residential townhome development is a use by right in the Forest Creek Plan Development Outline Plan conditions. It will have gated private drives maintained through an HOA, and in staff's opinion, the proposed development will not unduly injure or damage the use or value and enjoyment of the surrounding properties. And so staff recommendation is approval. Open for questions. Thank you.
You finished? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, do we have any questions of staff? I'm so sorry. No questions? Okay, we're ready to hear from
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We held this for a month in order to get some site plan comments from the opposition. And yesterday at 3 o'clock, we got an email that gave us no suggestions of any site plan changes. It is a site plan approval. The zoning is there. I do have a presentation, but I would like to hear from the opposition, and then I would like to give my presentation. So I'd like to save my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Again, Brenda Solomito Baser, Solomito Land Planning, 1779 Kirby Parkway, Memphis. I am here on behalf of the Irene Neighborhood Association. And if you remember, we were here back in October of 2021 with the opposition to the first phase that's located there at the northeast corner of Shelby Drive and Forest Hill, Irene. There were several meetings with the developer that were absolutely pointless and unfruitful. There were no concessions and no considerations made. That application was rejected by this body, the Land Use Control Board, based upon the neighborhood opposition and perhaps the overcrowding of the existing schools in this neighborhood. I submitted a letter yesterday. I'd gotten with my my colleagues and talked about the overall density, which is an issue, same issue as on the northeast corner. And I have attached the letter from Shelby County Schools stating that the two of the schools in this area are at or near capacity. This applicant, along with this application and the next, which is on number 2 on your agenda, is intending to put 388 dwelling units within these 3 parcels of property within this planned development. So if we want to get into specifics, that's fine. If not, but just understand that this is not an appropriate development. The density is not in character. The housing type is not in character. Also, this corner piece that we talked about in October was approved on appeal by the Shelby County Board of Commissioners. But after the rejection of that application, the applicant went and clear-cut the property and was fined $30,000 for doing so inappropriately. So we don't have any confidences that this applicant will follow the regulations, nor do we believe that he will do what he says he will do. However, if approved, the one thing that is extremely important to these neighbors is that there be a condition put on these properties in item number 1 and item number 2 that no Airbnb will be permitted, no short-term rentals be permitted on these 2 properties. That is something we've been requesting since day 1 that the applicant has refused to agree to. I'm happy to answer the questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Belenke?
Thank you. Charles Belenke, 995 Eccles Street, 38111. My opposition is on this one and number 2, and basically relates to the cumulative impact of building more and more suburbs, paving more and more land, when we have not looked at the cumulative impacts on drainage, the cumulative impacts on traffic, particularly on Bill Morris and on Forest Hill Irene down to the state line. More capacity will be needed, and there's no plan to widen those roads. There's no access to transit here. There's not stores and things you can walk to. There's no employment center that will have jobs that will generate the kind of income needed to live in this neighborhood. There's nothing to deal with affordable housing. It's just another piece of car-centric sprawl. So, thank you.
Thank you. Applicant?
Thank you, madam. We do agree that there will be no Airbnbs or short-term rentals. These will be townhouse rentals. It is, as you can see by our site plan, it's 1 lot with the total amount of units, 100 units and 188 units. 1 lot owned by the Porter family, maintained or managed by a professional management company. Seth, can you go to my presentation, please? Page 1, the first one. As far as sewer entitlements, in the letter or the email that y'all got yesterday at 3 o'clock, it said that I had quoted that this was the only site available for sewers left, and I wanted to bring this slide back to your attention. This is the slide that I showed the Land Use Control Board and the County Commission that showed all the properties that still had sewer entitlements that were vacant. Next slide, please. This is the green is all apartments. As you can see, the majority of the site is apartments, of the planned development is apartments, and then you have the 2 brown sites that were vacant, including our other site that was in red. The senior apartments that directly abut the piece that came before you months ago has 15.2 units per acre. The planned the apartments that came to you back in January have 15.5. The Irene Woods apartments that abut our northern piece has 10.9, and it also will abut our eastern piece. We have 9.3 on our northern piece and 9.6 on our southern piece and 7.2 on the property that you saw months ago. The next slide. In January of 2014, the apartments to the north came to the Land Use Control Board with no opposition and asked to change the zoning from CMU2 to a more dense zoning of RU3. That had no opposition, and that was approved by the Land Use Control Board. In the representative's letter, next slide, he wanted to amend the previously approved plan development to the multifamily residential. The developments in the area located to the southeast and north are very successful multifamily communities that blend with the character of the area. And these were all 3-story apartment complexes, including the proposed one that was approved to the north. That also had 1 letter of support. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. That was the next slide is the previously approved plan for the apartments to the north. Next slide is the elevation of the apartments that are proposed for the north. Next slide is our proposed elevations, which we feel are extremely, they're much more attractive than what's already existing there, and they're townhouses. They're not the 3-story walk-ups, they're townhouses. And we feel that there is a need for that in the area. And there was 2 different elevations, including one of your streetscape with the iron fencing, and it will be gated. Next slide. In July, we, the apartments to the north came back and removed the floor area ratio requirements as well as general site plan review from their site. Next slide. That's just a vicinity map that shows everybody that was notified, and there was no opposition. Next slide. This is their revised plan that they came back to you in July that was approved with no opposition to the density. And that's 275 units on, I think, 14 acres. Next slide. Next slide. Shelby County Schools had no comments received in January of 21 to the rezoning to the CMU to the RU3. They had, next slide, they had no comments for our development that we're bringing forward to you today. Next slide. They also had no comments on either site. Next slide. This is a letter that's included in your package that I handed out from the mayor and in support of, more density in the county, and was glad that we brought it to his attention that we did have opposition, but that he would support it. When we went to the county commission, we were approved 12-1 for our previous site plan, and the county commission felt that it was a good plan. Next slide is what Seth has already sent. So in between the 30 days that we held this, there were no meetings. So it wasn't that that it was pointless. We were never ever approached for any kind of a meeting. So we were open to any site plan changes, any elevation changes if they didn't like our elevations, but we were never approached with that. So with that saying, we have agreed no Airbnb or short-term rentals. These will be professionally managed, and this will be a townhouse community, and it will be private and gated. And we do have sewer entitlements, so I would appreciate your support and here for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Reeves. Okay, Land Use Control Board members, do you have any questions of Ms. Reeves, Ms. Salamento, or Mr. Belinkie? Any questions? Hearing that you have none, we're going to close the public portion of this meeting. Can I get a motion?
Move approval of number 1, MJR 22-03CO.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded Is there any discussion?
I just want to say, going back to my opposition the last time this was in front of us, in all of the years that I've been on this board, we'd never gotten comments from the schools. And I always wondered, with all these developments, there have to be impacts to the school. And it had never been a case up until this one. And when the school is saying we're at capacity and we're over capacity, I really have to take that into consideration, in approving something with this type of density. So I would not be supporting this.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Agenda item number 2, MJR 22-04CO, Widen. This is a correspondence to PD 07-342CC, site plan review for 188 single-family residential lots at 4500 Mayfield Road. Staff recommendation is approval.
Okay, we know our applicant is here. Is there any opposition?
SR Consulting, 5909 Shelby Oaks Drive, Suite 200.
Okay, thank you. What about opposition? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Brenda Salamito, Baser, Salamito Land Planning, 1779 Kirby Parkway.
Thank you. We're ready for our staff presentation,
Yep,
and I'm going to listen real good.
All right, good morning, everybody. So basically, this is for the exact same PD that we just heard. It's just for a different section of the PD. The last one was in Area 1. This one is in Area 7 to kind of give you, so Area 1, if you want to follow my mouse, the first one we heard was in this corner over here. This is now in a different section of the same PD. And effectively, the developer is asking for the same thing, residential townhome development that's allowed by right under the outline plan conditions. Just this lot in particular is 20 acres as opposed to 10, and as a result has close to double the amount of townhome units as the last one, but it's under the same ownership, and we have the same conclusions for both 03 and 04. So.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the staff? Or for the staff? Hearing none. We're ready for the applicant's presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm not going to give another presentation. I think it's just the exact same case, so I would appreciate your support in this also. And I'm here for any questions.
Okay. Ms. Bazar?
Thank you, ma'am. A couple of points in addition to the previous points that I made about representing the Irene Neighborhood Association and their concerns about the community in this area and the density. We spoke about the northeast corner of East Shelby Drive and Forest Hill Irene and approval on appeal by the Shelby County Commission. That case is in litigation. And then the result of these 388 new units, and I want clarification if they're intended to be a rental community. That's just one question that I have. And then that produces between 700 and 850 new school-age children. Many, many years ago, before cases went to the Shelby County Commission for any type of action, there used to be a fiscal impact analysis that was required to see if this impact would have a negative impact on Shelby County. And I haven't seen that study done in many, many, many years. And oftentimes, the Shelby County Commission would base their approval on the rejection on how the development measured up from a fiscal impact, which is impact to schools, utilities, police, fire, and response. And quite frankly, this area is not equipped to handle additional units of this density. And it is mostly not revenue producing. Typically, residential properties are they take resources from governments. What offsets that is the mixed-use nature of a development with the commercial. So by eliminating the commercial, you're also eliminating the potential for revenue in this area. So just a couple additional points in addition to the opposition facts from the Irene Neighborhood Association. So thank you.
Thank you.
When it went to county commission, we were voted 12-1 in support of this application. These will be townhouse rentals. The Forest Hill neighbors that are opposing the development all live north of Shelby Drive, and they have no sewer entitlements except for the one parcel that's in the Collierville city limits. We all agree that this is not a spot for commercial, especially the northern piece that has no visibility. You just know that there's not going to be commercial there. We're not asking for a rezoning. This is a site plan approval only, and we feel that we have a good site plan. We feel that we have very good elevations. We're surrounded by 3-story walk-up apartments, and we feel that this is a good product and will do very well in the county. And we'd appreciate your support.
Excuse me, I have a question for. What are you guys? As far as phases? How will this happen in phases as far as development?
This is not going to be able to go on. The very first phase will be the one that was approved previously, and that won't be online until probably 2023. And then they'll go to the eastern piece next, and then that will probably be 24, and then the northern piece will probably be 25.
And the northern piece is the larger, more dense.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Okay. Thank you.
But we feel that this is a very good area for townhouse rentals. It's a product that's not in the area. All the other apartments, as you can see from Google Earth, they're all your 3-story walk-ups, and these are 2-story townhouses. So we feel that there is a need for this product.
Any more questions of Ms. Reeves? Any questions of Ms. Bazar? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting. Can we get a motion?
Yes, move approval of agenda item number 2, MJR 22-004.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Do I hear any discussion? Is there any discussion? Excuse me. Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item number 6, SUP 21-37, Alcy Ball, used vehicle sales at 2328 Elvis Presley Boulevard. Staff recommendation is rejection.
Okay, there's rejection. We're going to hear this case, and we need to see if the applicant and the opposition is here. Can you come up and give us your name and address, please?
Good morning, Chairwoman and board members. Thank you. I know that the Office of Planning and Development has requested a rejection on this case.
Okay, we just want your name and address right now.
I'm sorry. I thought
we're going to get a staff.
I'm sorry. Evelyn Royston, 2809 Kirby Parkway, Memphis, Tennessee, 38119.
Thank you. Is there any opposition that we can get your name and address? Okay. If none, then we're ready for a staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brett Davis, Division of Planning and Development. This is case number SUP 21-37. It's a request for a special use permit for used vehicle sales in Alcy Ball. Some general information. This site's located at 2328 Elvis Presley Boulevard. The owner and applicant is Bargain Divers, Inc., which is a furniture store that currently exists on site, represented by Ms. Royston. And the area of the lot is 1.4 acres within the commercial mixed-use 3 zoning district. Again, this property is in Alcy Ball on Elvis Presley, just within the loop. Here is that original subdivision, Kemmons-Wilson South Bellevue subdivision of 1952, as well as a map of all neighboring property owners that received a notice of public hearing. Here is a satellite photo of the site from 2021. So you'll notice that there are two bays to the retail strip. The northern one contains the existing furniture store, and then there's a much smaller one that's about 2,000 square feet in area to its south. It's unclear to staff what all of the vehicles you can see on this photo are there for currently. The site is within a commercial mixed-use 3 zoning corridor and is surrounded on all sides by CMU 3 zoning. But on either end of that corridor is single-family zoning, and the land use map reiterates that. I'll also point out that blue on this map stands for civic, and the site is abutting 2 churches to its north and south. I have some site photographs, so I'm just going to walk through these real quick. Here's a view north down Elvis Presley with that furniture store on the right. I'll point out that there is no sidewalk or curb here. It also appears that striped parking is within the right-of-way that you see where that gray car is parked. Here's a view down the other direction of Elvis Presley. Again, that right-of-way comes down right around on the other side of that detached sign that says mattress sale. Here is a view of that rear parking area that currently has those vehicles being stored, which is probably not allowed by the UDC. Here is a survey of the site. We see here an outline of existing asphalt in the rear yard. This is what that last photograph was of. As proposed, the gravel in the rear that was not covered by this existing asphalt would be paved over, and additional spaces for vehicle storage for those vehicles for sale would be added. I'll point out that the applicant has listed right here, or shown this corner of the furniture store as the car sales office, so it would not be activating this vacant strip or bay to the south. Excuse me. So in conclusion, the vehicle sales business would share this site and structure with the existing furniture retail business, also operated by the applicant. Staff finds that the proposed use, given its outdoor storage and auto-oriented nature, may have an injurious impact on the community development efforts underway in the Alice Ball neighborhood. We also feel that this use is inappropriate given its location within 150 feet of a single-family zoning district, and the fact that it abuts 2 churches, one of which submitted a letter of opposition, which is in your staff report. A Google Maps search that staff conducted last week found that there were 5 existing vehicle sales business within 1/2 mile of the site. That does not include other vehicle-related businesses like repair and service. There, could be a land use argument to be made that the clustering of perhaps undesirable land uses is a good thing, but one problem with that argument here is that the Department of Comprehensive Planning has found that this use is not consistent with the Memphis 3.0 Comprehensive Plan, which designates this land as within an anchored neighborhood, which is supposed to be a sort of a walkable community directly adjacent to an anchor. So for these reasons, staff is recommending rejection. If approved, we are recommending the requirement of significant site upgrades, including the removal of certain nonconformities and the installation of streetscaping, which would include curb, sidewalk, and street trees. And that latter condition is sort of included in condition number 2 here, which activates the standards of Article 4, which includes our landscape buffering standards and streetscaping standards. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Board members, do you have any questions for Mr. Davis right now? Okay, we're ready for the applicant, Ms. Royston.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I would like to add to what Mr. Seth had said. He mentioned that there was a church on each side of this property. Actually, there's a Hope Church is on the south side of this property, and Heavenly Inn is on the north side of this property, and which is an hourly motel. Now, how they arrived at giving it a heavenly name, because we both know that very seldom do you and your family go to a hourly motel. Now, with that having been said, he did also indicate that there are 5 other auto sales on Bellevue. There actually are about 10 that goes all the way up to Bellevue. And most of these are very unsightly, with cars that have just been sitting on the properties that are non-repairable or sellable. My client they're buying cars that do not even need repairs. They're readily able to sell these cars and they're buying them from auctions. The site plan, could you put that back up for me, please? The site plan, the way we have configured it, the cars will not even be visible from Elvis Presley. They're going to be in the rear of the property, which is not the case for any of the other auto sales businesses on Elvis Presley or Bellevue. Also, we are showing a private fence around the perimeter of the property, so they won't even be exposed to the Hope Church, which is on the south side, nor the Heavenly Inn Motel on the north side. Mr. Itham has been in this property, commercial property, about 7 years, and is a 15-year resident of Memphis. He has a family he's trying to support. He's right now in the hospital struggling for his life. So I think, I understand what they're trying to do with Elvis Presley and Bellevue, but at the same time, small businesses need to have some kind of consideration. Everybody can't do a Gossett or a Toyota, a Sunrise, a large, but why should we, prevent the smaller businesses, people from coming in and do what they can do? Because Memphis, we're just set up that way, Small businesses have to do what they can do, what they can afford to do. And if we stop allowing them the opportunity, then they're not able to advance nor even hire anyone in the community. I think right now in his furniture business, he's hired about 4 people from the community. And if he's able to get this automotive sale business up, he plans to hire about 3 or 4 more others, which would be an opportunity for those in the community. I understand that 3.0 comprehensive plan, but we're probably looking at about 20 years before they actually are able to make that a success, because those existing businesses that are there, they're not going anywhere. They're either grandfathered in or, like I said, they're eyesores to the community. So I would plead that you would give that some consideration. The fact that this gentleman is trying to do something to take care of himself and his family is another thing I would like for you to consider. And it's not changing the characteristics of this area at all. Matter of fact, it's an enhancement to all the other auto sales business that are just, as I said, cars are sitting out on the street and they've just, they're not, workable cars, they're not drivable. So I would just ask that you take that in consideration.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Royston?
Yes, Ms. Royston, what is the current use of the property right now?
The current use of it is it's a furniture store, and he has a space that's available in the rear. You see that part that's where the sale office will go. So your customers will park here where you see the 5 or 6 parking spaces on the initial side, and enter into a ADA office, and then the cars that are for sale will be displayed in the very rear of the property, enclosed in a private fence.
So is he going to shut down the furniture business or?
No, actually, he's not. The office space is actually in a 1-hour enclosure.
Okay. That answered my questions. Thank you.
Any further questions of Ms. Royston? Any further questions? Okay, was there any opposition? Thank you, Ms. Royston.
Thank you.
Any opposition? Okay. We're going to close the public portion of this meeting, and we need a motion.
Move approval of agenda item number 6, SUP 21-37.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion, and we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Nay. Motion fails. Thank you. Ready for the next motion, Dr. Pritchard?
Yes. Agenda item number 9. MJR 2022-005. To the Eudora Plan Development. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Is the applicant? Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present? We'd like your name.
My name is Corey Brady, 9967 Bentwood Creek Cove, Collierville, Tennessee.
Thank you. And we have lots of opposition, so we're going to go right into the staff report. Thank you.
Madam Chair, there is opposition, assuming you know that. My name's Danny Van Horn, 4205
Yes, I have
Park
quite a few,
Thank
so I didn't want all of you to come up and announce yourself twice. So, yeah, we have quite a bit of opposition. Okay, staff report.
Okay, Lucas Skinner with the Division of Planning and Development. Again, the item before you is MJR 2022-005. This is a major modification to the existing Eudora Plan Development to allow apartments on Lot 2. Here's an aerial of the site. This is located just north of the intersection at Poplar and South Perkins. So White Station High School is directly north of this site, office building to the west, commercial to the south, and residential to the east. Zoning land use to reflect, again, a variety of uses for the area. Again, mainly residential to the northwest and east, the high school to the north, and commercial all to the south. Few slightly older site photos. The left photo is the entrance at South Perkins. Turning in, you can see the church back in the distance, as well as the Walgreens to the right. The photo on the right is from the entrance off of Poplar. So the Walgreens is to the left, and the church is there, kind of dead ahead. And what is now the Freddy's would be right there to your right. This is a site photo just looking north, down South Perkins, heading north down South Perkins. The entrance is right there to your right. This is the existing Eudora PD outline plan from 2006. So just to show lot 1 on sort of the left is the Walgreens right at the corner. And then lot 2 is everything sort of above it and to the right. And so we're discussing lot 2 for this. Here's a site plan sort of showing, looks a little interesting because there's going to be parking on the first floor. So this would be essentially to look at like a flat elevation of the site. This would be all of the parking. Somewhat of a landscape plan. This shows a little bit more of the building footprint and then the applicable landscaping for the site. A few elevations. It's about 5 stories in height total. A rendering to give an idea of materials used. So in conclusion, this is again a major mod for apartments, 5-story structure, on-site parking for a maximum of 125 apartment units. The Eudora PD was approved in early 2007. Granted, there is a church on the site. However, the planned development is established with all CMU3 zoning. So, of course, apartments would normally require a special use permit, but this is also an alternative method to allow apartments. For this method of doing a major mod, the applicant is requesting trading out the use of commercial parking. So the three conditions as we head into the recommendation, which we are recommending approval with revisions to the outline plan conditions, the three conditions that we're sort of changing is to include apartments in the uses permitted, to then exclude commercial parking as the trade-off. And then the other one is about the monument sign on Poplar. The applicant would like to try and reuse that sign, hopefully with Walgreens as sort of a combined monument sign. So we just tried to make that applicable for both. There is a trip generation study done. I'll have the applicant probably discuss this a little bit more. This will also be handled, if approved, this will also be handled in the realm with engineering if this goes through with the memorandum of conformance. So this will also get looked at by engineering at some point. They also did a trip generation comparison of some other uses. I'm sure Mr. Brady, the applicant and representative, will probably discuss this a little bit. So that's pretty much all I have. I'm available for any questions.
Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions of staff right now? Hearing none, we're ready to hear from the applicant.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Let me move some of this, I don't want to knock it down. Again, my name is Corey Brady. My role in this project was to prepare the application, collaborate with staff through their review proceedings, and also hopefully answer any questions from the board that you collectively may have. With me today is Mr. David Shores, the applicant. Mr. Will Pierce is our legal counsel, and Dr. Marty Lipinski is our consulting transportation engineer, traffic engineer in this case. I'd also like to note that the architect of record on this project is Shapiro and Company Architects, so all professionals are local Shelby County, Memphis professionals, and I think everyone here knows quite well, hopefully. Thank you, Lucas, for the presentation. As staff has stated, we are requesting a modification to the Eudora plan development to allow multifamily apartment uses on Lot 2 of the PD. The property is just less than 2.5 acres, and it has served a church throughout the years, various different denominations and churches. My client has a contract contingent upon approval of this request to purchase the property. The intention is to construct a podium format 5-story multifamily building that measures with ultimate height of approximately 60 foot. The base floor area of the site of the building proposed is approximately 140 feet by 295 feet. So the ground floor area is approximately 41,000 square feet. And the format or the composition of the building, as Mr. Skinner touched on, is the ground floor, not subterranean, but the actual ground level is surface parking that would be covered by 4 levels of residential units and common areas above it. So under podium, the ground floor area, there's approximately 89 parking spaces, and that first site plan that Lucas showed kind of showed the configuration of those those parking spaces. The proposed building contains 117 Class A apartments with 166 on-site parking spaces, pool, and various other amenities. I'm happy to go into those amenities if you guys would like. Of the 166 parking spaces, if my math's right, I believe approximately 125 are secured parking spaces for the residents. So the parking beyond those security gates or under podium are guest parking, reserved parking, overflow parking, such as that. Again, 166 total parking spaces. Now, thank you, Lucas, for putting up the site plan. This is a colored site plan. Access to the property remains the same. We are not changing access. We have 2 points of access on this property, the first being along Poplar Avenue and the second being along Perkins. Those are provided through a reciprocal easement agreement exclusive between Lot 1 and Lot 2, the Walgreens site, and we're maintaining both points. We're not changing any points of access. We have hosted and or attended 2 neighborhood meetings for this property. The first neighborhood meeting that we hosted was on February 24th, and all of the The neighbors who would be notified by this board's notification were notified and attended. The neighborhood meeting was held on site at the church. Again, we had a second meeting on March 7th, and that was by request of some of the neighboring HOAs that wanted to ask some more questions. So we attended that. It was well attended. And I think it's noteworthy that several of those individuals that attended that meeting I'm not sure if they've struck their opposition, but we've been notified that they're no longer opposing the project, and they're not here today. But at those meetings, there were three really reoccurring topics that continued to come up. And in no order of priority or importance, I wanted to touch on them very briefly, and I can answer any other questions. So the first one I want to touch on is rent. These are market rate apartments. The average rental rate is about $2.25 a square foot, and what that extrapolates to is $1,500 minimum to $2,500 a month, depending on the apartment format, number of bedrooms, that you're looking to rent. The second item that came up often was tax incentives. No pilots or any public funding sources sought with this development. This is entirely 100% privately funded. And the last, and I think most important, is traffic generation. So when we prepared our application, we provided Mr. Skinner or staff with some very conservative estimates based on the Institute of Transportation Engineers charts, and those were conservative. We have since hired Dr. Marty Lipinski to run more thorough analysis of the traffic study, and basically Marty's here and can certainly speak to you with regard to his traffic studies, but Marty also did a comparative analysis on the other permitted uses for the property. In the summary of those reports, the 117-unit apartments that are proposed do not meet the criteria for the cities that would require a traffic impact study. Again, they do not meet that criteria. When compared with medical office uses and hotel uses, which were two other uses that have been proposed for this site, Marty's summary, again, is that those two uses generate more traffic than these 117 apartment units. And he underscored the fact that considerably more during the school's 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. dismissal time. Again, Dr. Lipinski's in the audience. He can answer to his theories and analysis on how he prepared those documents. With regard to the staff report, Memphis 3.0, obviously the staff report states that we are consistent with Memphis 3.0. The staff report states that we are compliant with the underlying CMU3 zoning bulk regulations, and we agree to the conditions that staff has proposed. With that, I'd like to reserve the balance of my time and of course, answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions of the applicant right now? No questions? Okay. We're ready for the opposition. Now, we have 7 cards up here. Unless you've organized yourself as to how you want to come up, then I'll call names. Okay?
Madam Chair, my name is Danny Van Horn, 4205 Park Avenue. I have the pleasure of representing the Carruthers family and their entity that is the landlord or owner of the land where Soulfish is at. We rise in opposition to this project, but not to the development of the land. We understand this land is going to be developed into something other than the church that's there. So hear us clearly. We are not opposed to development of that land. We're opposed to this specific development. And we wrote and we told the developers this several weeks ago and have heard nothing from them since then. The staff report says on page 20, staff believes the proposed development will not unduly injure or damage the use, value, or enjoyment of the surrounding property. That is 100% wrong, and let me explain why. In that development that you see on the screen right now, the developer proposes to put a fence along the north property line of what is the Soulfish property. That property has been in the Carruthers family ownership since at least 1973. It was a pediatrician's office, and then it was Wolf Camera, and more recently Soulfish. From 1973 to this day, as we sit here today, there is an exit on the north end of the Soulfish, of the Carruthers property. And the way that that lot is constructed and the way that the building has been there since 1973, there's only one-way traffic. There's no way to go behind the building, turn around, and come back. It would create a safety hazard. If you've ever eaten there, you know that lane is pretty narrow, and the building's been there since at least 1973. Now, why do I raise that? There is not written down in a document an easement somewhere benefiting my clients, but that is exactly what the law provides in a prescriptive easement. We've had continuous, uninterrupted use of that ingress and egress to the north end of that property since 1973, and we can provide proof of that in court if we need to. The prescriptive period under Tennessee law is 20 years. So as early as 1993, my clients had a prescriptive easement over the church property. Why have we never taken action on it? Because it's really never been an issue till today. We've been able to ingress and egress over that land. I raise that for the following issues. The fire department obviously looks at, as part of this report, looks at emergency services, but I would call to your attention that all they did was look at Lot 2. They did not look at the impact on emergency services on the neighboring landowners. There was no evaluation from the fire department in this analysis of what will happen to the Soulfish property. If we had someone that had a heart attack back there, could an ambulance get back there? If there was a fire back there, could a fire truck get back there? The answer to that is no, based on the shape of the lot and the shape of the building. So number one, we would ask that you hold this and direct the fire department to give comments on the impact on the emergency services to the Soulfish property. Number two, there is no comprehensive traffic report here. Let me be clear. I have personally hired Dr. Lipinski before as an expert in another case. I think the world of Dr. Lipinski. He's a good man. He's an honest man. He does good work. What he provided you was a trip generation report. It is not a traffic impact study. That is the next level of study. And so one of the other things that we're asking you to do is to hold this application and ask the developer to have an actual traffic impact study done here. Why are we asking that? Well, two reasons. The Memphis 3.0 plan says that when you have development, it needs to be consistent with the surrounding neighborhoods. If you shut off access here, you're going to be shutting off and effectively closing down Soulfish and rendering our property worthless. Number two, you have White Station High School just to the north. Now, we know that the principal of White Station High School is not a big fan of this development, but she was essentially told, don't speak up. Now, that bothers me that the principal of White Station was told, you really shouldn't speak out on this, lay low. That's a problem. I think I'm not saying the developer told them that. I don't know who the principal was instructed not to talk with. We know if you live in this neighborhood that there's massive traffic in the morning and at school out time and every time there's a basketball game or football game. There needs to be a traffic impact study to make sure that the surrounding neighborhoods are not going to be negatively impacted by this development. If you look at the staff report, what it says in the conclusions is that it's the hope that the traffic generated by the site will use that, quote, Poplar Avenue entrance. So what they're really saying is they hope that traffic hangs a hard left and goes down to Poplar instead of going straight out the way it's designed now onto Perkins. I think that defies logic. Look at the way this is laid out. More importantly, let me be clear, we want that Walgreens to be there for a very long time. That's my Walgreens. That's where I get my prescription drugs, and my family does too. Are you telling me we're going to create Walgreens as a rock in the stream that the traffic is flowing around on both sides? That cannot be good for the Walgreens parcel here. We don't ask to expand or detract in any way the access rights over the Walgreens property. If necessary, we will go to court and seek an easement over Lot 2 for whatever rights Lot 2 has over Lot 1. So we're not trying to expand or detract the Walgreens property rights. And we're not going to be adverse to Walgreens. In fact, we're here to support Walgreens. We're very concerned about the impact of traffic in the neighborhood. We're very concerned about ingress and egress that's been there since 1973. And by the way, when the PD was filed in 2006, it still had an alleyway there. And so we relied on that to say they've developed it in a way that there will be an alleyway and a lot there. So that's an additional argument that we'll present in court if we have to try to stop the development as proposed. But let me just conclude with simply this. We understand there's going to be development there. We're not opposed to development there. We just ask that it be consistent with the entire neighborhood, both the residential neighborhood and the commercial neighborhood that currently exists. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have 7 more people and we have about 5 more minutes. So each one of you have less than a minute.
My name is Paul Carruthers. My address is 4720 Poplar. That's known as the Soulfish. I'm a graduate of White Station High School. My family lived across this high school. I've personally experienced the heavy traffic congestion there, which only has gotten worse and worse. Over the last half century, my father's business, adjacent business owners, their tenants, employees, customers, service vehicles, and others have used the Eudora Baptist Church parking lot to enter and exit the rear of Poplar Avenue and the other business, our Poplar Avenue property and other business to the east. The trash dumpster has always been located there, and it's accessed through that church parking lot as well. As Mr. Van Horn mentioned, closure of our northern access is going to severely impact our property value and our future income. And if that is done, a dumpster will have to be moved to the front of the store, and emergency vehicles, delivery vehicles, et cetera, are going to have to access it to the front, which is going to impede the current customer base of Soulfish and likely discourage, others. Traffic is a well-known impediment in this area. It's already terribly congested with the White Station High School. The developer's trip generation report is limited. It's not a traffic study. It uses comms as a medical office building and different patterns as a residential development. The report does not address the morning traffic. I do ask that a full traffic study be incorporated, White Station High School and surrounding communities included as well. In conclusion, there were over 60 letters in opposition to this project. I hope y'all read all of those. Comprehensive traffic study is requested. Again, we are pro-Memphis development. We want to work with the property owners to solve the ingress and egress. If approved, I think this will send a chilling message to the small business community that this body in the city of Memphis is jeopardize small business with approval of developments like this. Approving this will create an immediate repeal, likely lead in litigation. That's something we want to avoid. I think it's something that y'all would want us to avoid too. And I ask you to reject this application so we can work with the owners, the developers for a mutually benefit solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Got about 3 minutes left for 5 people.
Good morning. My name is Susan Caldwell. I live at 4650 Laurel Oaks, which is a small street, private street just off the screen, running off of Perkins. I'm the president of the Laurel Oaks South Association, and I represent my neighbors. My issue is a little bit different. I do agree with the traffic. You'd have to be insane not to agree with that. However, my issue in particular that I wanted to bring to your attention is that I do not believe a proper market study has been done to see if the demographic that would like and seek out this type of construction and building would choose to live in this site. The developer says it's for empty nesters and the divorce crowd. Well, I'm both of those. And I'm not attractive. Young professionals who I work with all the time would love this building, but I don't believe they would love this East Memphis location. It only provides 2 of the top 10 amenities that young professionals are looking for. The developer is basing his opinion on this will be a success with experience he has on other developments he's done near Overton Park in Lakeland and closer to the University of Memphis. The characteristics of those places are nothing like this site. I've seen the different rent structures. They were talking about me. I did a quick search. These are rents based on HUD. Fair market rent values for properties in a 38117 according to HUD data. They start at $840 and go to $1470. So we were told at the second meeting that the rents were to be $1850 to $2850. Today you heard $1,500 to $2,500. Doesn't sound like we know what the rents are going to be. What rents does this East Memphis market bear? The embassy across the street is reported in this same report as being 25% over the average in these rents, except for 3-bedroom, which these don't have, are over the rents that the embassy is charging. It would seem to me that any developer or investor would want to have a little better idea if their project is financially feasible. And I ask you, the guardians of this city, what happens if they build it and the renters don't come? How many times have we seen that in Memphis? Will they drop the rent, sell the property? The prospect of either of these is not anything any of us want. One of the premises, I looked on your site, and it says that your mission is to promote economically, environmentally, and fiscally sustainable and responsible use of the land in service to the common good under the guiding principle of respect for all Memphis and Shelby County stakeholders. Are you sure that you know enough about this development to approve it today? We are asking you to require a real traffic impact study, not just an academic trip generation report, and that you also require
We're over
market
time.
analysis to more scientifically determine the good and proper use of this site. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the time is up. The time is up. The time is up.
We're together.
Okay,
Can we
well,
just make a short statement, ma'am, please?
I would like to give.
okay, with
There are other.
everybody okay? Okay, 30 seconds.
Okay. My name is Maurice Smith. I live at 405 South Perkins Road, Terraces of Laurelwood Condominiums. This is Pat Faudry. She's also an owner. I'm on the board. We're in total opposition to the development, and we piggyback on all of the statements that the attorney here representing Soulfish. We don't believe that there's been enough study, comprehensive study for this approval. We're in agreement that the trip generation study was inadequate. A comprehensive traffic impact statement should be done. I come in and out of our unit, and there's always traffic. There's already a traffic problem. If you approve this application and they build it, it will be a traffic nightmare, trust me. You have the popular corridor and the South Perkins. I believe it will destabilize the community.
We about the same.
All right, and Pat, she'd like to say something.
You know, I want to tell you just one thing. The traffic's an issue. Yeah, I don't care what Marty says, and he and I know each other since Moby Dick was a minnow, and he's a guru of intermodal transportation. This ain't intermodal. But the thing I would tell you is that I think you have got to look at traffic here. And the reason I say that is because this is not the only time you're going to have an infill of this kind of situation. That you're going to face this all over the city. And I think you have a real chance now to make this become a model of dealing with this kind of thing.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, can I get the name of the...
I need your name. I need both of your names, please.
Okay. My name is Maurice Smith, Laurice Smith. I submitted a comprehensive opposition letter, and I have...
Okay, that's all I need. That's all I need. And what is your name?
Pat Faudry.
Okay.
405 South Perkins, 38117.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have right now that we're about 5 minutes over, so just so you, and I think Mr. McKinnon and I have about the same.
Okay, we're not going to give any more time, right? The time is up.
Madam Chair, I would just like to introduce myself.
Okay.
And to indicate my position on this. I am retired Judge Larry Potter of the Shelby County Environmental Court. I dealt with land use control issues for 35 years. I am in opposition to this. I could give you a 1 minute, 20-second reason, but we're over time, and out of respect to you folks, I will not say anything else than the following. Thank you, and God bless you for your service. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, board members, do you have any, well, first of all, do you have any questions of the opposition before we get the rebuttal back? Any questions of the opposition? Okay, we're ready for your 3-minute rebuttal.
Madam Chairman, you said I have 3 minutes.
You have 3 minutes plus, how much did he?
4 minutes is
so 7 minutes.
7 total minutes. Could I ask staff a couple of questions? Would that be acceptable to you guys?
Sure.
Pertaining to this? Lucas, I'm sorry to put you on. I got to ask a question, or Mr. Ragsdale, Jeffrey, whomever. Again, can you confirm that this application is consistent with Memphis 3.0?
Yes.
Can you confirm that our site plan conforms with the CMU 3 zoning district regulations, bulk regulations, and the Eudora plan development?
Yes.
Can you confirm that the trip generation study that we provided complies with the City of Memphis's policies for land development?
Yes, and that will, as a part of their process, yes.
Can you define what a legal non-conforming property is briefly, or structure? I can give a brief explanation if you will agree to my explanation, or say it's not true. Basically, it's a structure that does not comply with the current zoning ordinance. I think you guys know. Is the Soulfish property a legal non-conforming? Does it have legal non-conforming structures?
I mean, I have not officially looked into it. It could potentially.
Okay, I don't mean to put it on the spot. Is Soulfish legally permitted by certificate of occupancy to occupy and operate on the site? Do we know?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
It's operating, correct?
What was the question?
Does Soulfish have a legal certificate of occupancy to occupy and operate on this site?
I'm assuming they do, but
Yeah.
I can't confirm that right now, but they are operating. I know that.
Is there any shared parking agreement on file with the City of Memphis that would say that they have access rights or parking rights off-site?
No, and it's not part of the existing plan development.
Is that a requirement of Section 4.5 of the Unified Development Code when off-street parking or off-site parking is required?
Yes.
With that, I'd like to bring up Mr. Marty Lipinski, Dr. Lipinski, to discuss traffic, if you would. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Martin Lipinski. My address is 774 East Snowden Circle, Memphis, Tennessee, 38104. I was asked to prepare 2 separate documents for this study. The first one was to compare the trip generation of the proposed land use, 117 multifamily units, as compared to what the trip generation could be for permitted uses. So I selected 2 permitted uses which would be very typical for a site of this type, a medical office building or a hotel. And in comparing these, it shows that the multifamily development generates fewer trips than either of the land uses that could be allowed, that could be permitted. I could have assumed other land uses. I could have assumed the Chick-fil-A, but you know what that would happen. You know how many trips that would have generated. So I think I selected 2 things that most developers would say they were reasonable land uses. So that was document 1. That was not meant to be a comprehensive traffic study. The second document I prepared was what is required by the City of Memphis for any kind of new development. It is a 2-step process. The first step in the process is to create a trip generation letter. This letter identifies the projected number of trips to be generated, and it compares to some threshold values that the city has established. If the number of trips exceeds the threshold value, that triggers a full traffic impact study. So in this case, I developed the trip generation numbers from the acceptable Bible of Traffic Engineering, the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual, and it showed that the number of trips generated does not trigger any of the criteria that would require a full traffic impact study. That document has not been reviewed by the City of Memphis to date, but I am very, very confident that when they see the document, they will concur with my findings. Are there any questions?
I have.
Why wouldn't we
do a full traffic impact study for such a large development that is controversial to a good chunk of the neighborhood and the surrounding properties. It seems to me that you would want to do a full study to prove that this is not going to have an impact. To say we don't need to, just...
That's not my decision. By legally, one is not required.
Madam Chair, I have one question. There was some concern about the fire department not being able to get there if they had an emergency. Could you elaborate on that a little bit, where this plan shows that the fire department can get to anyone residence there?
I wasn't asked to look at any of that internal issues.
Mr. Tolles, the fire department commented on the property, on the development as it is, and they do take into account access to the property. Dr. Lipinski was not asked to study off-site properties, I'm sorry, but that's certainly something that as it comes through, we can certainly look at for sure. If it's possible, to your point, I'd like to introduce Mr. Will Pierce to discuss the access discussions as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Will Pierce, Blank Brown Law Firm, 9 Tishomingo Cove. I represent the applicant. I wanted to address some of the issues raised by Mr. Van Horn, who represents the Carruthers, who own the property where the Soulfish restaurant currently sits. I think his main point dealt with prescriptive rights that his clients allege that they have across both the Walgreens and the church property. First of all, I think this is an issue between individuals, private rights between two property owners, and is not really a subject for this board. Second, in his letter to this board, Mr. Van Horn cited the criteria for establishing a prescriptive easement. One of those is the open and notorious use of the property. Well, the church and Soulfish Restaurant entered into a parking lease, which can be terminated by either party on 30 days' notice. I think that refutes that particular criteria, which is necessary to establish prescriptive rights. So I think the main issue that Soulfish has is they do not have enough parking to run a restaurant. And I'm sorry about that, but, you know, my clients have the right, I think, to use their own property for their own purposes. All right. Any questions?
Thank you. Ms. Tillman, there was a Ms. Tillman here in support. Can you, or Mr. Tillman?
Thank you.
Give your address and...
The applicant has 1 minute remaining.
Hi, my name's Jay Tillman, 4410 Barfield Road, Memphis, Tennessee. I am the developer and owner of the Walgreens known as Lot 1 on the plan up here, and I was part of the team of professionals that created Lot 1 and the outline plan for Lot 2. And I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention that as you look up there at the outline plan, the only cross-access agreements are between Lot 1 and Lot 2. It's a recorded document. It's by and between the church parcel and the Walgreens parcel, and it's only for those people. It's not open to anybody else to drive across our property. And if you look at the outline plan, the Soulfish is a solid line. So it's not intended for cross-access, but with the Soulfish parcel, what used to be senior services, and all the others. And over the last 15 years, I've had to work diligently to keep people off of my property that are on it and shouldn't be. And Soulfish, their customers, their deliveries, their trash operators are all driving across the Walgreens property without permission, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop. And then just in closing, Lot 1 was created in 2007. I wanted to bring that to your attention as well. The last comment I want to make is about traffic. When Lot 1 and Lot 2 were created, we knew that Lot 1 and Lot 2 would both be developed. Lot 1 was being developed immediately. Lot 2 has taken 15 years. It went through all the engineering, all the traffic studies. The only thing, and they were realizing that Lot 2 could have a more impactful use. The only thing they asked us to do was to dedicate right-of-way along Poplar Avenue. When we dedicated about 3 to 5 feet, and it actually shows up there, and they asked us to widen that to make it softer so that it would be easier for the school buses to make that turn. So I think that's important. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of any of the applicants and/or supporters? Hearing none, we're going to close the public portion of this meeting, and we're ready for a motion.
Move approval of agenda item number 9, MJR 22-05.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have several points
Okay.
that I'd like to bring up. Number 1 is the traffic, and I don't need any sort of traffic study to tell me that traffic is terrible. My son lives to the east of this site, and you know that if you're trying to go over to Poplar, you're not going to be able to go down Colonial or Perkins and get there very easily because the traffic is so heavy. The school has a lot of traffic. Number 2, the congestion. If you're trying to go south on Perkins and it's during the school hours, you know it's going to take you a while to get down there. Number 3, and this has been mentioned, is the effect on the small businesses on the north side of Poplar. And it will be devastating, I believe, to those small businesses. Number 4, the safety issues. If you are going to go south on either one of those streets and it's school time, I don't know about the morning, but I do know about the afternoon. It is just terribly congested, and it's not very safe for those students who attempt to walk to the south or to go over to the west to the little coffee bar there. It's just not safe for those children. And for those reasons, I'm going to oppose this. And I can't be alone in my opposition because 63 letters were sent to the Land Use Control Board office in opposition. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Is it possible, I know we have a motion on the floor that for the sake of all, I think the first gentleman that got up asked about a delay. Could this one would it be helpful if we delayed this one 30 days?
I'm not sure. The school is still there. Students are still there. And
Well,
that's not
someone from the opposition mentioned that when I think he's an attorney, and when he first got up, I'm just asking, trying to be helpful to wonder if they could come together and some compromises be made, because I think it's a good development, but I'm very sensitive to the neighborhood and the surrounding areas. I was just hoping that we could come together with the delay, but if not, we move forward.
Mr. Thomas, I would have to agree with you on that. I like the development as well. I think I like it. The thing that I would say is possibly the density. Maybe if you scale back on the density and try to figure out a little parking. However, I still like the development. I think it's something that is sustainable for the area and the demographics. It makes a lot of sense. Like I said, the biggest thing is just figuring out the density, and I don't know. I guess a question would even be parking garage. I didn't see one, but I wasn't sure. It's on the main floor. Okay, yeah. So you have figured that part out. But yeah, the density and being able to control the traffic is biggest thing that I can see with the project. Overall aspect, I like it.
Madam Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think about this project, and Memphis is such a small town, and I, know people on both sides of this, and they're all good people. Eat at Soulfish, the whole thing. So, being a Memphian, I guess a small town, doing this as long as I have, you kind of know everybody and all the things that flow into a decision like this. And I think about that project. That property is going to be developed one day, and they've got the right to build restaurants and commercial right now, which has a much greater traffic impact than what is being proposed. I personally like the development, but like my colleague, Mr. Thomas, suggested, I would not be opposed to offering a 30-day delay if there was some way there might be some potential to come to some agreement between the opposition and the applicant. So I would offer, if it's okay, a motion to hold this for 30 days to see if there might be something that could be developed that might be more appropriate. I don't know if it can be or not, but in the spirit of all those, these are good people, honorable applicant and opposition trying to do the right thing for Memphis. We all are. Maybe we can't get there, but I would offer that as a motion.
Scott,
Okay,
I will offer a second to that.
Okay.
I would agree with that. I think it is a good development, but I would like to see more clarity on the traffic impact and if there was a way to work with the surrounding community to try to come up with some solution.
Would the applicant not have to be amenable to a hold? Or would we just add arbitrarily?
No, we decide that among ourselves.
We decide that? Okay. So it has been moved. We have a second on the floor for a 30-day hold. Is there any further discussion? Okay.
I just want to say yes, Madam Chairman, we're agreeable to the hold.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
I want to add one thing. When you have this discussion with the opposition, I think Walgreens needs to be in there, because if these restaurants are using his and yours possibly, your asphalt they're just using it and they're not putting any money into it because, it deteriorates. And so I think the three of you should get together if it does work out, because, they need to pay to help keep your surface area in a good condition. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. All right. We do have a motion on the floor. And if there's no further discussion, is there any further discussion? I assume we're ready to vote on this 30-day hold. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. We're ready for case number 10.
Agenda item number 10, MJR 22-06CO, Cordova. Site plan review of a drive-through restaurant at the southeast corner of Houston Levy Road and Macon. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Okay, since this was removed per Ms. McConnell, do you want a staff?
I don't really need a staff report. I just want an understanding of the traffic impact, because I think I have questions about the egress and
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Ms. O'Connell. There's a lot of background noise right now that we're not able to hear. Maybe we could wait a couple of minutes. And I hate to have you repeat that, but we want to make sure the applicant hears it as well. So, all right, thank you.
So is the applicant present? Would you give us your name and address?
I assume we're talking about item 10.
Yes.
I'm here to represent the applicant. My name is Mike Deadman. I'm with 7068 Ledgestone Commons, Carlson Consulting Engineers.
Thank you. Is there any opposition? Okay, are we going to do a staff report? Mr. Ragsdale?
Yes, or I think Ms. O'Connell had some questions. And
Right.
I don't think we need a whole report. I just have specific questions.
Okay.
I am in that area, so I travel through that area quite often. And where the location is, Macon and Houston Levy are both just 2-lane roads with turning lanes. We just approved a neighborhood that's being developed right now where the new road is right next to the back entrance of the Kroger where their shipments go in. Now, these homes are under construction, and I've already seen 2 almost accidents and 1 accident because these 2 roads are right next to each other with screening in between them. So this Wendy's would go right next to where there are 2 roads that are right next to each other, no stop signs, no yields, no nothing. Then we're going to put a drive-through right next to those, which is right next to the intersection where there was. And so I drove this yesterday just to double check it because there are so many, there's McDonald's, Taco Bell, Starbucks. All of this is concentrated within like a block on Houston Levy and Macon. And I'm just very concerned about how we are placing these roads where people are coming and going, where there really aren't proper turning lanes. It's only 2 lanes. It's, to me, a recipe for a lot more accidents. And on my way here this morning, as I'm checking the traffic, there was an accident in Houston Levy and Macon right there. So I think I want clarity on how they're planning this and how, what are the traffic impacts and, are people really looking at there's a road here, there's a road right next to it, and now we're going to have a drive-through right there, and then an intersection. So that's my question.
Teresa Shelton, Municipal Planner for Planning and Development. Answer to your question, engineering didn't really give any comments as far as traffic. They did do just where they have to get a standard right-of-way permit, which is required. I have to get back with engineering on that part, but they didn't give any information on traffic in regards to that.
See, that's what I was afraid of, because it just seems that the neighborhood we just approved, they didn't really look at that road was put right next to the road that the driveway that the Kroger delivery trucks come through every day, where the school buses often park when I guess they're queuing between runs. It's a very busy exit there, and it was put right next to a road. And like I said, now we're going to put a drive-through right next to that, right before the intersection. So it just seems very chaotic to me. So that my concern is not for the establishment itself, but how the traffic flow is being designed. And I didn't see anything in the report about it. And I just think we should be cognizant of unintended consequences when we're developing. And I think this is the 3rd case today where I think that's an issue.
Hey, Madam Chair, are you ready for my report? Or do I need to?
Do you want to report?
No, I guess I just want to be on the record saying that we really need to have engineering look at things. We need to have the traffic impact looked at. It makes a difference, and it contributes to accidents and traffic problems and, all of the things that we don't want. So I would highly encourage, as this project moves forward, that be taken into consideration.
Do we know if there's a plan to widen Houston Levy and Macon?
I don't see how they could, because right now we just put a gas station across the street and car wash right next to it. That parcel's developed. There's only one empty parcel. There's nowhere to go. So I'm just saying, this is not Germantown Parkway where you've got
Right.
lots of lanes.
4
These
lanes,
are
6, 5, 6 lanes,
and
yeah.
yesterday, as I was driving just to check out exactly how much, chaos is going on, there is one center lane
Yeah.
where somebody thought it would be a good idea to drive 80 miles an hour, up this turning lane. So, we have to really look at this because.
No, I live not far from this location, so I definitely understand your concerns. And I mean, as I travel, maybe every now and so to that Kroger, I see exactly what you're saying. So in my mind, I was thinking, okay, and to Cordova's not as connected, and I'll probably say this over and over again, as it should be or could be. I think it's underdeveloped from a road versus the density of homes that are out in this area. So I do agree with you on that. I think that could be a little piece that we're missing at the end of the day.
Okay, so
what would this require, a hold?
Madam Chair?
What would this require, Mr. Ragsdale, a hold or what?
Well, Madam Chair, I did want to just clarify. County Engineering, they did review it. We did discuss it briefly at the TRC meeting. They just they didn't have any comments on the traffic. I think that one of the reasons is, they're not adding any additional curb cuts. Ms. O'Connell, I understand, the traffic impact of this, but if they were adding any curb cuts or any entrances, I think they would have more comments on, those type of things. But they did review it, and the only comment was the right-of-way dedication. So just wanted to clarify that.
So what are we going to do? Vote on it or?
Yes, Madam Chair, I believe that the comments are in the record, and if there's any other discussion, but if not, then we can have a motion to approve.
Okay. All right.
I don't know that holding it is going to solve anything, especially, there's no curb cuts. But again, I definitely appreciate that.
It wasn't my intent to hold it or even oppose it. I just wanted to be on the record saying, as we're doing these developments, we should really be cognizant of traffic.
Okay, I want to close the public portion of this meeting.
All
Go
right.
ahead with the motion.
Agenda item number 10, MJR 22-06CO Cordova. Move that we approve it with conditions.
Second.
Okay. We have a second. We have a motion. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion? Okay. I assume you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Agenda item number 14, PD 21-43 Cordova. 88 single-family lots with reduced lot size at Berry Hill Road, beginning approximately 555 feet south of Chimney Rock. Staff recommendation is approval with outline plan conditions.
Thank you. We will hear from the applicant as to name and address.
Madam Chairman, my name is Danny Tabrisi. I'm with EDS Inc., representing Reedy Homes, the developer. What I would like to just keep my time and let opposition to have a chance.
Okay, we just want your name and address right now, and that's all right now. Okay, is there any opposition?
Tabrisi, 882 Willow Tree Circle, Suite 201, Cordova, Tennessee.
Okay, and is there any opposition? No opposition? Okay. Can we get your name and address, please?
Certainly, let me get all this out of the way. Hi, my name is Holly Simmons, 8886 Raspberry Lane, Cordova, 38016.
Thank you.
And I am the president of the Homeowners Association.
Okay, thank you. We will now have a presentation by the staff. Mr. Davis.
Yes, ma'am. Brett Davis, Division of Planning and Development. This is case number PD 21-43. It's a request for a special use permit for a planned residential development that would consist of approximately 88 single-family lots in the in an incorporated section of Cordova, and that is an N incorporated section, so within the city limits. The proposed name would be the Berry Hill Downs Planned Development. This is on Berry Hill Road, beginning approximately 555 feet south of Chimney Rock Boulevard. Owned by the Akils. The applicant today is Mr. Reedy, who is present, represented by Mr. Tabrizi. The area is 18.6 acres, and it is zoned conservation agriculture. And this is where we are looking. So the edge of the city limits. This is a map showing all adjacent property owners that received a notice regarding today's hearing. And a satellite photograph showing that this site, this photograph also has zoning district boundaries on it. So we see that it is zoned agricultural, as well as the Cordova High School site to the east and unincorporated Shelby County across Berry Hill Road is zoned conservation agriculture. And two smaller parcels to the northeast and to the south share that zoning. Otherwise, everything has been upzoned to single-family residential zoning districts. To the north is a commercial district overlaid with a planned development that allowed for small lot, single-family development. So as shown in this photo, we do sort of see this picture of a missing piece of a suburbanizing puzzle. I'll point out that the subdivision to the south is in unincorporated Shelby County. Those lots directly abutting the subject site are approximately 10,000 square feet. The lots directly abutting the site to the north go down to the 3,000s. Here's a slightly zoomed out picture showing land use. Yellow is, of course, single family detached. Again, the Cordova High School to the east, and then some commercial and office uses along Berry Hill to the north. This is a photograph of the site as is. It is wooded, and there are two stub roads that the proposed development would utilize by extending to provide access, as well as a third access point on Berry Hill. This street is both a stub and a dedicated cul-de-sac, but that is proposed to be extended. And here is that other stub road. And here is the proposed development. So we see again, here's the extension of one stub at the city limits and the other. And we like to see the extension of existing road patterns and the tying in that way. And then here would be the new access point off Berry Hill with pretty small blocks. These two blocks are allowed under the outline plan conditions to be either single-family detached or duplexes. The applicant told me that they wanted to do just small lots, single family here, although now I've heard duplexes and townhomes, so it's not exactly clear what the use would be here. Everything else would be detached single family housing, and it is proposed to be a sort of gradient from south to north in terms of lot size. So with the largest lots along Berry Hill Road and to the south, getting progressively smaller to the north. And staff does feel that's an appropriate way to develop this site given the context. The applicant submitted some sample elevations and inspiration photographs, so I'll just go through those real quickly. So in conclusion, Mr. Reedy has requested a special use permit for a planned residential development of approximately 88 single-family lots. This development would extend two existing stub streets, improve its Berry Hill frontage, and construct several short streets. This land is currently zoned conservation agriculture. As such, it may be conserved as natural land, used for agricultural purposes, or subdivided into residential lots with a minimum lot size of at least 1 acre. And we recognize that this land adjacent on three sides to single-family housing and on the fourth to Cordova High is better suited for suburban development than agricultural purposes or large lot housing. Again, the applicant has proposed a variety of lot sizes ranging from 3,000 to over 10,000 square feet, in line with the gradient I mentioned earlier, which complements the two adjacent developments to the south and the north. At the time of writing, staff assented to all of the applicant's requested lot sizes and setbacks, with one exception, that the lots along Berry Hill be widened to a minimum width of at least 100 feet, given that street's arterial status and the fact that those lots will have direct driveway access off of Berry Hill. Since writing the staff report, the applicant has requested a greater reduction in setbacks, as well as a greater reduction in minimum lot size. I believe the reduction in minimum lot size would affect Area D, which are these two interior small lot blocks, and a request in reduction of setbacks for Area C, which are these smaller lots on the northern side. Right now, and as requested originally, the setbacks are 3.5 feet on both sides for interior lots. And the applicant has requested that that be changed to a 5-foot side setback on one side and a 0 setback on the other. So the houses would be built on the lot lines with a 5-foot setback, which would total, of course, a 2.5 foot total reduction in the side setbacks. And I do have actually a printout of what the applicants requested for the changes to the outline plan conditions as written. So let me hand those out real quick. I've got them here. Thanks. Hey, Jeffrey. And let me, one second, let me pull up the staff report, which has those conditions. Now, we are recommending certain conditions related to lot elements, including the requirement of minimum 6-foot deep porches on all lots, which, except for townhomes potentially, which the applicant has agreed to. We did put in a requirement requesting that corner lots have, in most cases, have wraparound porches. The applicant has requested alternative architectural details to satisfy, that requirement to keep the corner lots engaged on both sides, and staff is okay with that. Other examples of things that might be acceptable to us would be bay windows, wraparound porches, turrets, garden rooms, etc. That is not currently in the outline plan conditions as written. In terms of the other requests regarding the reduction in setbacks in Area C, the reduction of minimum lot size in Area D, and allowing the Berry Hill lots to go down to 90 feet in width instead of 100. Staff has not at this point assented to any of those requests in our written conditions, and we feel that it may be a better approach to get that additional width by eliminating a small number of lots at this point to meet to basically increase the width rather than decrease the setbacks by eliminating lots. And with that said, I am concluding my presentation, and I have these conditions up if anybody has any questions. And I'm also happy to read into the record that friendly amendment if the applicant's okay with it.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Okay, we're ready to hear from the applicant and the supporter. The applicant and the supporter.
Madam Chairman, we filed this application back in October. We worked with Brett through those months, and I want to thank you and compliment his working with us throughout several months. We also met with the neighborhood, which they reside to the south of the property. We held a neighborhood meeting at Cordova Library. I think our impression from the meeting was neighborhood had no objection to the development of the property. Their concern is the traffic, and they would like to eliminate the two stub streets that terminates to our south line. And at that meeting, we told them that these are the requirements that city engineer and the planning department imposes on us. If they choose to eliminate it, we have no problem. Development of this track is not gonna contribute to their traffic issue because all the homes that are going to be developed in this site will be exiting to Berry Hill. And more than likely, they will be using our stub streets in order to access Berry Hill rather than vice versa. City engineer had requested for us to do a traffic generation study. We have done that, and they have approved it. So there won't be any need for additional traffic impact study. We meet all the criteria that the city engineers has set. Also, we have approval for utility and sewer plant has been approved for this project, and we have that approval from city engineer's office. I handed Brett just a few items that we think it is in the best interest of our project by eliminating the access to the two corner lots where access it through Glastonbury Drive and eliminate their access to Berry Hill Road and have them to take their access from Interior Street. And in return, we would like the remaining 3 lots to have the 90-foot width, which is consistent with the property to the south. Berry Hill Farm has the same condition and same lot sizes. They're 90-foot width. And please note that one of those 4 lots is going to be detention basin for the project. We would like to not cut the size of that detention basin at that location and maintain our 90-foot lot configuration as we have it. As to the size of the common open space, which we have proposed in Area D, we would like to increase those from 1,500 square foot each to 2,500. That will give us a total 5,000 square foot landscaped area around those townhomes where Area D is located. And in return, we would like to just, since the Area D primarily is going to be townhomes or cottage homes attached, we like to have the minimum lots to be at 3,255 rather than 3,700 as it indicated in the staff report. And lastly, we would like to have the ability in Area C to have a 0 and 5 foot side yard setback just for the interior. And all the other architectural enhancement as it was proposed by Brett, we would like to do that. In addition, we would like to have an alternative such as bay window, garden window, and shutters for all the corner lots within this development. That's all we have, and I think what we are proposing really is in the best interest of development, and it won't take away from any of the comments that Brett has in his staff report. With that, I yield to you for
Thank you. Is Ms. Baker here to make a presentation? Okay. We need your name and address and for you to come up to the podium. We can barely hear you.
My name is Cynthia Baker. I am at 9092 Deer Meadow Drive in Cordova, Tennessee. I support the actual development, but there are some changes that I am in agreement with our HOA representative, and I would like for her to speak first before, and if there's any additional time for the opposition, I would like to speak on their side.
Okay, so you're a supporter, but you want to speak on the opposition side.
Okay, I will identify as opposition, and then I will express additional information as to how I stand, where I stand.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Can you fill out a speaker? Did you fill out a speaker's card?
Yes, she did. She did.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready for the opposition. Ms. Simmons?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we go back to an earlier slide? I think it was like number 3 or 4. It's that one. Thank you. No, back to it's that one. Thank you. Okay. First of all, we want to lend support to the development as far as the information that we have so far. We do probably have a lot of questions that will not be addressed here. We actually only found out about this development about 5 weeks ago, and then had a meeting a few days later, which was a little over a month ago. So, we as a community are still trying to figure out kind of the pros and cons of the community. But as it stands, the development, we're in support of the idea. If you look at this map, you will see that our community, Berry Hill Farms, pretty much surrounds the planned community. So you've got Chimney Rock up at the top, you've got Berry Hill Road, and then down at the bottom, the very bottom, the curved street, Raspberry Lane, are 3 of the 4 borders of our community. The way we understood it was that they were going to be widening the road in front of the high school. And then, again, our understanding is that any community has to have 2 or more ingress and egress. And in addition to the one out on Berry Hill, was also proposed cutting through the stub outs of Deer Meadow and Turtle Hill, which I don't have my glasses on, but they should be visible right over here, where they would be cutting up, through the back end. And I heard the gentleman say that they are agreeing to not do those stub outs, and if so, most of our immediate objections are withdrawn. Our concern is the traffic issue. We have a very, very, very bad issue with traffic. We have 125 homes on or immediately off Turtle Hill and Deer Meadow, the lower portion of Raspberry, and then we have several homes that are on Berry Hill, just north of Raspberry there, so just south of the school. In addition, we have probably about another 150 to 200 homes along Raspberry and all of the coves off of it. And Raspberry and Chimney Rock, which are our east-west connectors, they go through the entire neighborhood. And not only does Berry Hill Farms traffic feed through it, but out of sight, which you can't see, Countrywood feeds into those streets as well, as does Riverwood Farms to the south of us. So we've got 3 communities representing thousands of homes, hundreds upon hundreds of which these cars are flowing through Raspberry and through Chimney Rock, going to and from Berry Hill Road. This traffic has become such an issue that, we have tried getting speed bumps and various other things. And it has gotten to the attention of local news, most notably Fox 13, which you remember about when that was? Yeah, sometime within the last 12 months or so, Fox News ended up doing an entire expose about the traffic in our neighborhood, specifically Raspberry Lane, which those cutouts would connect Raspberry with that neighborhood. And we have also had a series of studies that the county just did in February. We've not gotten the results of those yet. But, you know, at a time where we're trying to figure out how to scale back traffic, how to slow down the traffic, this comes in. So, we want our objections to that particular part as a matter of record. That said, again, if they are withdrawing their plans to build through, then we, as of right now, do not have any objections to the planned development, other than a concern that, could the development even go forward without those extra ingresses and egresses? That's everything I have for right now. I'm open for questions. And then I think Cynthia also had something she wanted to add.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Baker.
Once again, my name is Cynthia Baker, and I am at 9092 Deer Meadow Drive. And if the developer is withdrawing the opportunity, the plan to open up the stub streets, that was my main concern, and that was my neighbor's main concern, opening up those stub streets, so that because currently now we have a sense of privacy, we have a sense of security, and with the influx of traffic that currently the proposed development would increase traffic, it'll increase a lot, to our neighborhood. And so because they are withdrawing that, then I am no longer in opposition.
Okay, thank you. Board members, do you have any questions of the opposition right now? Okay, hearing none, we'll hear the... Okay.
I guess, and I live in the Cordova area. To a degree, I understand where you guys are coming from as the neighborhood association in that neighborhood there. I stay right across the street from there. For me, looking at Cordova, and it kind of rolls back to the point of connectivity. In many other neighborhoods, you see things like this and developments like this coming on board. They are connected to the current subdivision. Here again, we're putting something in place that I want it to connect. I think I don't necessarily see a traffic issue personally. Berry Hill during school time, yes. And maybe, if you stay on one of the main roads in this neighborhood, then you may see a lot of vehicles. However, if you're on a side street, you don't necessarily see those vehicles. But one of the biggest things is connectivity for Cordova. And I'm not really seeing that in and throughout some of the developments, and the pushback that I'm seeing is more, hey, we not necessarily don't want it, or we're cutting this off. We don't want it to connect through. Again, at what point do we start it to connect Cordova and other communities that are coming on board within Shelby County? That's just my kind of question and thought behind what you guys are opposing. So, but if the developer has chosen to disconnect, then that's on their side. But I would personally want to see it connected, just because everything else is so distorted.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments for the opposition? Okay, we're ready for the rebuttal of the applicant, if any.
Madam Chairman, as we said at the beginning, we're abiding by the requirements that the city engineer and the planning department is imposing as far as traffic circulation. If engineering and planning department does not want to continue the stub streets into the development, we have no issue with that. And we've said so. But I believe the issue is if we cut those, the connectivity will go away. And again, I think having those connections will improve their traffic situation. But we, you know, if the board decides that we don't need those stub streets, we're okay with that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the applicant? Any questions? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. Dr. Pritchard?
Move approval of agenda item number 14, PD 21-43.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. It has a second. Any discussion?
So are we approving this, approving or denying this based on the fact that they are closing off the access points to the other community, or?
Can you read into it the amendments?
It's just as written by the staff.
Okay.
As amended by the staff?
As presented.
As presented by the staff, okay. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
All right.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, so the applicant has not proposed removing the extension of those stub streets. And
Right.
has correctly placed the blame on city staff. We would like to see those streets connected and agree that it would improve the connectivity and traffic circulation in the area.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? The public portion of the meeting has been closed. In order for us to talk to you, we would have to reopen it. Okay. Are you ready to vote?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Could I read that amendment, that friendly amendment into the record?
Yes.
Maybe
Yes, that's
Please
what I
to
was
be
asking.
included in this vote? Okay. So to the applicant's credit, they have agreed to conditions related to garage placement, including that any street-facing garages be at least 20 feet behind the front of the house, and otherwise the garages be hook-in, which with some of these very thin lots, it might be an issue, and it's possible that they have to be extended a little bit to meet that. Again, the porch requirement, but the applicant did have an issue with the wraparound porch requirement, and so we are working with them, and we would like to replace outline plan condition 3A4 to the following. Corner lots shall respond to their context, such as by including a wraparound porch, turret, or an equivalent side street architectural detail. All lots shall have front porches. Porches shall have a minimum depth of 6 feet. And that the final detail would be worked out between the applicant and staff during final plan review.
Okay. So we're voting on it as amended, or are we going to vote on the amendment and then vote on it as amended?
You can vote on it as amended.
Okay. So we are getting ready to vote on this item number 14 as amended.
Yes.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We're ready for number 15.
Madam Chair, agenda item number 15, PD 22-01, Frazier, extension of manufactured home park at 3903 Flaxwood Lane and 2 adjacent parcels. Staff recommendation is approval with outline plan conditions.
Okay. We do have the applicant here. If you will give us your name and address. Go ahead, name and address.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'd like to make a request too. I'm Homer Brannon, 999 Shady Grove, South Shady Grove. I represent the applicant. Mr. Brett Davis and I had agreed this week that we would ask for a hold on this case for 30 days so we could work out some details in the conditions. I know the staff is supporting the application, but some of the conditions are of concern to us, and we were going to meet next week and try to work those out. I didn't know that there was a lady here and a gentleman here that are concerned about it. They live, I believe, over to the east of the property, but I'd like to ask for a hold, and I guess she's objecting. Come on up, lady.
So what we're going to do is...
I introduced myself to her, and
what we're going to do is we're going to hear what they have to say, but we're going to entertain your hold as well. We're going to hear what they have to say, but we're also going to entertain your hold since they are here.
Thank you.
Okay?
Come on, ma'am.
All right. Are we going to hear the case first or not?
I can present if you'd like, but I'm also happy to hold off on the presentation for one more month.
I think
Okay.
we need to hold it.
We'll hold off on the presentation, but we will hear what you have to say first. Okay. We'll vote on the hold after we hear your presentation.
You see this letter? We did not get this letter.
Okay, first of all, ma'am, I need your name and address.
Oh, Teresa Horn, 3645 Steel Street, 38127. Lifelong Memphian resident. I am upset that I got this letter a week after the public hearing was. I am not being allowed to say my piece about this. They can call it modular housing. It's a giant trailer park in Frazier along 51. We have many tornadoes that come through there, and also funnel clouds. We all know how tornadoes love trailer parks. This is right behind our house. It is a major floodplain. These people aren't telling these poor people who's going to be buying these trailers. There's a good chance their little trailers fixing to go floating down the road. Now, they have destroyed a lot of very precious plants that are native to Tennessee back there. The wildlife is now starting to come over onto my property, tearing my property up, eat my garden, because what they've had for eons has now been torn down. There is a major creek that flows behind this so-called trailer park, and then there's a railroad. This creek floods or flows into the Loosahatchee River. Now, it's bad enough that Frazier, the area that this is built in, the sewer cannot even hold the pressure of what's already built there. We don't have adequate police. We don't have adequate schooling. How is this supposed to work? It's a trailer park in the middle of a major floodplain that's not even supposed to be being built in to begin with. And it's really aggravating that, we don't get the letter and, we can't voice our opinions because there was native, endangered Tennessee plants that was destroyed by bulldozers back there. That land should have been protected. But no, guess what? It's destroyed, and these plants cannot be replaced again. Endangered. You know what endangered means, right?
Right.
They're gone. They're gone. Because it's more important to bulldoze things down instead of trying to save plants. The city is growing too fast, and it's not needed out there. I mean, Frazier is, I don't know if any of y'all know much about Frazier. Gangs are taking over. And trailer parks aren't good.
Okay, we have two more people in opposition that wants to speak.
No.
Thank you.
We don't need that. We don't.
I don't think we need it.
Well, he asked us to let the two people speak. The two in opposition. Mr. Brandon, you're asking for a hold. We're going to let the three people in opposition speak, and then we're going to entertain your hold. Isn't that what you said, Mr. Ragsdale? Okay.
You can allow them to speak if you want to hear from them, or you can go ahead and make a
Entertain the
motion for the
whole.
whole, either way.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and, you want to entertain the whole?
Yes, let's do
Okay.
that.
All right.
Madam Chair, I
was-
move that we hold this
May I
item.
say this, please?
Yes.
I understood we had agreed on a hold. My client's not here, my engineers are not here, I don't have anybody here.
We're going to hold it.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna hold it.
I appreciate that.
But we were told to listen to one opposer. Okay.
I need a second on that motion.
Okay, it is moved and second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote on this hold. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Number 15 will be put on hold for 30 days. Thank you. Those in opposition, you may come back in 30 days.
Madam Chair, I just want to clarify, because we had, one time we said 30 days and someone showed up 30 days later, we will say 1 month. So just to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because we did have
For
somebody show
1
up 30
month.
days later.
But somebody wrote me up here to say, let the people speak. Somebody said, it was on hold, but let the people speak. Or I wouldn't have let her.